All right, so today we're going to do your study guide for quiz 11. All right, so what we're doing for all of these problems, we are finding the solutions. So problem number 1 looks like this. X squared plus 14x is equal to negative 48. All right, we want to write this in standard form first, so we're going to add 48 to each side. And when we do that, on the left-hand side, we get x squared plus 14x plus 48 is equal to 0. All right, so we're going to factor this trinomial, and then we're going to set our factors equal to 0 to find the solutions. So we're looking for two values or two factors of 48 that add to 14. So that's going to be an x plus 6 times an x plus 8 equal to 0. All right, 6 plus 8 is 14. 6 times 8 is 48. Everything's positive, so both factors are positive. And then the next step is to set your factors equal to 0. So we take x plus 6 equals 0 and x plus 8 equals 0. Solve for x in both equations. All right, so your solutions are negative 6 and negative 8. Problem number 2, x squared minus 14x plus 49 is equal to 0. So this is one of those perfect squares, perfect square trinomial. And we said if the first term is a perfect square and the last term is a perfect square, and the middle term is negative, then the square root of x squared minus the square root of 49 squared are the factors. All right, so we worked on some other problems using this technique. If x minus 7 squared is equal to 0, we can square root both sides. And by square rooting the x minus 7 squared, it eliminates the exponent. So we get x minus 7 is equal to 0. So add 7 to each side. And we get an x that's equal to 7. So your solution is 7. Number 3, 2x squared plus 20x plus 18 equal to 0. All right, so now our leading coefficient is a 2. Remember, our a times c goes right here. Our middle term goes here. We're looking for two factors that multiply to 36 but add to 20. Factors of 36, that's 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12. I already see a pair right here, the 2 and the 18, right? So we go positive 2, positive 18, 2x squared plus 2x plus 18x plus 18. And then you group. And you factor each group. So the common factor in 2x squared and 2x is a 2x. So you pull out a 2x, then you divide the 2x into each term. So 2x goes into 2x squared, x times. 2x into 2x goes 1 time. The common factor in 18x and 18 is positive 18. 18 divided into 18x goes x times, and 18 into 18 goes once. So your factors are 2x plus 18 and x plus 1. So then you set each of those factors equal to 0. Solve for each factor. So subtract 18 here. Divide by 2. And negative 18 divided by 2 is negative 9. And then in this other equation, subtract 1 from each side. Your x is equal to negative 1. So your solutions or your zeros are negative 9, negative 1. Problem number 4. We got 5x squared minus 53x plus 72 equal to 0. All right, so again, we're factoring. A times C goes in the top of our cross. So A times C is 360. Our middle term goes on the bottom. We need two factors of 3 that multiply to 360, but they add to 53. So 360 has quite a few factors. 1 and 360, 2 and 180, 3 and 120, 4 and 90, 5 and 72, 6 and 60, 7 doesn't go, and 8 goes 45 times. So unfortunately, we had to get all the way down to here to find a combination that would add to 53. Now, the 53 has to be negative, so both factors need to be negative. All right, so our next step is to start dropping down. So we get a 5x squared minus 8x minus 45x plus 72. And then we're grouping. Common factors in 5x squared and 8x would be just x. And then you divide the x back into each term, and we get 5x minus 8. Common factors in negative 45 and 72. We're going to take out a negative 9 because we want 5x minus 8 in the parentheses. So when we factor out a negative 9, negative 9 goes into negative 45x, 5x times. And negative 9 goes into positive 72, negative 8 times. So our factors are x minus 9 times 5x minus 8 is equal to 0. and then set each factor equal to 0 and solve. We're going to add 8 to each side. 5x equals 8, and then divide by 5. So our solutions are 9 and 8/5. Number 5. 5x squared equals 80. All right, there's no middle term here. So we just solve for x. Divide both sides by 5. We get an x squared equal to 16. And then just find the square root of both sides. So x equals positive or negative 4. So your solutions are negative 4, 4. Number 6 is 18x squared is equal to 8. Divide both sides by 18. X squared is equal to 8 over 18. They're both even, so simplify that. All right, 2 goes into 8 4 times, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. And then you can square root both sides. So the square root of x squared is equal to x. The square root of 4/9 is positive or negative 2/3. So your solutions are negative 2/3 and positive 2/3. All right, we have 2 problems left. And number 7, x squared plus 20x plus 100 is equal to 64. And again, please recognize that the first term is a perfect square, and so is the last term. So this is a perfect square trinomial. So our factors of this trinomial are x plus 10 squared. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 100 is 10. We square it. It's equal to 64. So again, we find the square root of each side. The square root of x plus 10 squared is x plus 10. The square root of 64 is positive or negative 8. So our 2 equations are going to be x plus 10 equals the positive 8, and x plus 10 equals the negative 8. Solve both of those. We get an x equal to negative 2. And an x equal to negative 18. So the solutions are negative 2, negative 18. And number 8. X squared minus 14x plus 49 is equal to 4. All right, another perfect square trinomial. But this middle term is negative, so our factors are negative. X minus 7 squared is equal to 4. Square root both sides. X minus 7 is equal to positive or negative 2. So x minus 7 equals the positive 2. X minus 7 equals the negative 2. Add 7 to each side. We get an x that's equal to 9. And when we do it to this equation, we get an x that's equal to 5. So our solutions would be 5 and 9. And that completes your study guide for this week's quiz.